Now let's get to our first topic of discussion today. Now, according to the World Health Organization, combined effects of air pollution largely caused by the combustion of petrol and other fossil fuel may cause an estimated 6.7 million premature deaths in the world yearly. To avert this health and environmental disaster and recent removal of petrol subsidy, which resulted in pump price increases, there is a need to create an enabling environment for tourists, for motorists and other users of fuel to utilize compressed natural gas as alternative fuel in view of its low cost and lack of adverse effects on the environment. Well, let's get talking now, and I have two guests to start this discussion. First is the president of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Chinedu Okoronko, and an energy analyst, Mr. Brian Amono, who is also the managing director of Gas Analytics and Solutions in Nigeria. Thank you so much. It's good to have you gentlemen on the program.
Thank you, Tolu, for having us.
Thank you for having us, Tolu. Good afternoon.
All right, President, before I come to you, I want to start with Mr. Amono now with this discussion, yes. Because first I want to say, why did we wait this long? We have proven and unproven reserves of gas in this part of the world. Even experts like you have said that we even have more of gas than even crude oil. So why did we have to wait until the point where subsidy is gone, that we are now thinking that we should take the full advantage of CNG?
Well, to deploy a CNG plan that will have the kind of impact that we need, and by impact, I mean a CNG plan that takes into account the need to provide gas infrastructure to dispense CNG to vehicles in those states that are far away from the supply of gas, right? Such plans take a little bit of time to put together. As a matter of fact, the IPMAN president and I met with President Buhari last year. We actually wrote him a letter around June of last year, proposing the need to start preparing or putting in place infrastructure that will support a nationwide rollout of CNG, because we knew the removal of subsidy was inevitable. At the time, no one was really making any serious comments on subsidy removal, but we got the attention of the then President Buhari, who also directed the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to support this national rollout plan that we have with IPMAN to deliver CNG to every nook and cranny of the country. So we've been planning this and taking steps towards achieving this national rollout. Tolu, we're not talking of 2 filling stations in Delta, 10 in Benin. We're talking of minimum of 10 to 20 filling stations in every single state in the phase 1 deployment of the project. We're also putting in place plans to provide access to funding for state government, for the Labour Congress, which we met with last week, presented our plan to provide access to loans to millions of Nigerian workers to support the transition from petrol and diesel to a cleaner natural gas, a cheaper natural gas, a product that is 100% domestic. We don't have to go to CBN to borrow $1 to import it. And above all, the deployment of CNG has serious national security implications, Tolu. What do I mean by that? Everyone knows that fueling petroleum vehicles is a challenge. Everyone knows. This goes even during the fuel subsidy era. So you can imagine, Tolu, if the police struggled to fuel their Hiluxes when fuel was selling at 175 naira a liter, what challenges they are facing now, right? So the need, immediate need, let me rephrase that, for a substitute, in this case CNG, which is about 300% cheaper than petrol, is not just to provide a cushion to workers and Nigerian vehicle owners from the high impact of petrol, but also to support the fight against insecurity in every single state of the country. Without having access to affordable energy for your security vehicles, how are you going to move from point A to point B to serve your duty, right? And again, the only platform that has the reach, the capacity to deliver CNG, not just to private vehicle owners or government vehicle owners, or in the case of the 3,000 buses that the government, CNG buses, the government plans to buy, but also the only platform that has infrastructure today to deliver CNG to also support security agencies in their fight against insecurity is IPMAN.
Now, let me now ask President Ipman, because I see clearly that Ipman is coming in with regards to distribution, and I know that Ipman has filling stations in the nooks and crannies of this country. President Ipman, tell me now, what active role are you going to play in actualizing this? Because I know we've been talking about gas for some time. Are your members really ready to key in to allowing their stations being used to dispense this product?
Yeah, Tolu, thank you again for this opportunity of having us in your studio. Remember, this is one indigenous association that within the nooks and cranny of this country you'll find, even in every ward, let me just use ward, in every local government, and every state of this federation, you see my members very well. So for you now to begin to talk of deployment of this thing so that it will get to all the nooks and cranny, IPMAN stands a better chance. That is why we have tagged it good news. It's a good news to Nigerian government, good news to the masses, and also good news to industrial people who might be running billions of naira in energy. Energy is very, very key. Like our consultant have said, it is one product that can take care of all the needs in the energy wahala. I think IPMAN, our being there, is a blessing to Nigeria because when IPMAN was formed, the idea was for us to start from the hinterland. Now we have grown to the extent that you see us everywhere, both the cities, both the local government, and even the wards. So for us, government will now leverage on this investment because without us, they will now begin to think how to get to all the nooks and cranny of this country. But that will have taken it up. And the cost of building new filling stations, you can't quantify it now, given the strength of our naira. But already we are there. We have covered that aspect of expense. It's just for them to co-locate this infrastructure. Government is rolling out about 3,000 buses. With our member stations everywhere, fueling them will not be an issue. That way, government will realize the importance and essence of this association called IPMAN. We're everywhere, Tolu.
Now, Mr. Mono, let me come back and ask you that the adoption of CNG, LPG, in my thoughts and with the figures we see, has been kind of abysmal. We've not seen people be, so receptive to it. So 2 questions in one. How safe is the use of CNG for our vehicles? That's one question that Nigerians would always want you to answer. And also, what are we going to do differently this time that you think will make Nigerians take this up hook, line, and sinker?
Good question. So, in almost every country where fuel is subsidized, each time fuel subsidy is removed, without exception, in 100% of the cases, most of those governments pursued CNG adoption as the most practical and sustainable alternative to subsidized petrol. India did it, Bangladesh did it, very close to home here, Egypt did it. So you have to look at the marketplace, you have to come up with a plan that makes it easy for your consumers, in this case the vehicle owners, the mass transit operators, to be able to afford the conversion of those kits. And you have to convert sufficient vehicles to be able to go to a gas producer and tell them that you need 5 million SCOF, or standard cubic feet of gas a day, to supply to 10 filling stations in Abuja, for example. 5 million standard cubic feet of gas is equivalent to 149,700 liters of petrol. And as you're making that request for that gas, you're telling them you have also provided access to loans for vehicle owners to convert their vehicles in sufficient number such that you will not struggle to sell that 5 million SCOF of gas that you're picking up from them, right? So in terms of safety, and I'd like to make one correction, LPG is liquefied petroleum gas. Yes, your vehicle can run on LPG. The problem is LPG is a lot more flammable than natural gas. LPG is the gas you cook with. So it's primarily made up of butane and propane, which is heavier than air. When it leaks, it sinks to the ground where it hangs around waiting for a spark, and usually that results in an explosion. Whereas natural gas is lighter than air. If there's a leak, it quickly evaporates. So Tolu, since 2007, NIPCO has been selling gas to vehicles. And if you send your correspondent to any of the 11 filling stations operating in Benin today, you will find out there has not been one incident, especially any vehicle exploding as a result of having CNG fuel in its trunk. There hasn't been one negative incident associated with CNG operations in Nigeria. Our partner, Femodec, supplied 10 CNG buses to Lamata, Lagos State Mass Transit Authority. They've been running those 10 buses since last year without any negative incident. India today has about 3,000 filling stations. They're aggressively pushing to expand the number of filling stations, gas filling stations, from 3,000 to 10,000 by 2029. So the operational history of CNG in Nigeria is close to perfect. When you drive by Dangote buses and you look behind the bed, you see green bottles. Those bottles are CNG. CNG is mature in its application in Nigeria. It has an excellent safety record, and again presents the most sustainable option in terms of providing a lower cost of fuel for our vehicles, which will result ultimately in the reduction of the price of food, because a lot of the food that we consume is transported on petrol.
Let's stay with the cost of conversion. I'm with you again, Mr. Amono. Just tell us more about 400K, 400,000 naira. I'm still thinking that. I thought you talked about making it easier for Nigerians to be able to convert and all of that. Can you shed more light on that, please?
So for us, we are charging about 280,000 naira to convert 4-cylinder vehicles, about 300,000 to convert 6-cylinder vehicles, about 180,000 to convert keke. and we have the benefit of economy of scale. So because we're targeting the delivery of 12 filling stations in each state in phase 1, we're targeting the provision of loans to support the conversion of 15 to 20,000 vehicles in each state in phase 1. That allows us to enjoy tremendous economy of scale. So for us, our conversion cost for a 4-cylinder vehicle is going to be 280,000.
President Ipman, your members, how are they responding to keying into this? Because, you know, they've been, for a long while, they've been used to PMS and, of course, diesel, kerosene, and all of that. That's been the order of the day. So what is happening at the moment? How are they taking to this new norm, if I'm allowed to go that route?
Yeah, Tolo, that is why, for us, it's a renewed addition to our income. Because the filling station target was before AGO, DPK, and PMS. But I can tell you for free, some of my members have not seen DPK for over 1 year now. The AGO is not even there. It's only PMS that you can get. So this, for us, is a good news because it will also create additional income. Not only additional income will it create, it will also bring happiness to this country. That is why we are looking at it, because check some areas, cities now, the number of motors or cars in the, those areas have really reduced, and it has also impacted negatively to my member. But I think by the time this CNG is deployed, it will also bring about further increment in our earnings. So we in Ipman, with our gas analytics, have started giving out data, and my members are responding very well. That will help us to know, because the business of gas is not like the business of where you can put the thing in. So the man selling gas to you will now know the capacity you will use, and they will now put it into a contract. Business of gas is not like you sign the contract maybe 5-10 years and it will not change. The price will be there. That is why we have also understood through our consultant that all these things have to be, this data, everything has to be in place to justify the investment of somebody who is trying to put a gas plant. He needs to know that, hey, the market is there. And if Nigeria can begin to think of 6,000 kilometer investment up to Morocco, the whole essence is because the market is there in Morocco. Now, what we want to achieve, we want to create this market here with over 200 million people. What will it serve? A lot of government will now begin to make their money. There will be money too for people to save. Not the vagaries of this subsidy removal will be a good advent for this country to move forward. Government will now make their money and use it for other things. Remember, our president in his broadcast said we have made close to $1 trillion within these 2 months, which ordinarily would have been used in subsiding, so, giving succor to usage of PMS. But if we bring this CNG now, make it energy alternative, government will save their money. Government will also make money from that gas. So for we in Ipman, we're happy that this commodity is here. We are not going to import it. It's being flayed in billions of cups every day. So it will also create other values within the chain, you know.
And so let me quickly add also, we've started...
Let me ask Mr. Amonu now before we wrap up this segment of the show. If you are invited or you have audience with the president to address almost like 2 months old subsidy removal, all of the backlash, like what can we do in straight terms? What will be your advice at this time with regards to, of course, CNG as an alternative?
Fantastic question. I would say we have great news for Nigerians. Just like the removal of subsidy has saved Nigeria trillions in 2 months, the introduction of CNG will save Nigerians directly trillions and indirectly even more trillions. I would say to the president, the solution to high cost of food, yes, there are a number of things that lead to food inflation, but energy, cost of high energy is one of them, insecurity and the rest. But the solution to high cost of food, the solution to high cost of transportation is domiciled in CBN. CBN has a 250 billion naira gas expansion facility to support the utilization of gas. I would say to the president, provide access to these loans for Nigerian vehicle owners, for state government. We've advanced negotiations with about 27 state governments to supply CNG buses. Provide access to loans to Nigerians and mass transit operators like NUTW to access these funds to convert their vehicles, and IPMAN and ourselves, along with our partners, we build the infrastructure to deliver this gas. The solution is here, Tolu. I would say to Mr. President.
I must thank you so much. Interesting conversation. Mr. Chinedu Okonkwo is the president of IPMAN, and Mr. Brian Amonu is managing director, Gas Analytics and Solutions Nigeria Limited, also an energy analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making sense of this topic of discourse. I'm moved. I feel like taking my car to the station and getting it converted almost immediately. But let's see how it all plays out.